Hi, I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. I have a yoga mat, but if you don't, fear not. If you've got a place in your house that's carpeted, maybe you have a rug that you can use, not one that's going to slide across the floor, but one that will prevent you from sliding across the floor, that will be the perfect yoga mat for today. I also have 2 yoga blocks. A great substitute would be 2 thick books. And I've got a folded blanket, which is as simple as a folded bath towel or beach towel or the throw blanket from your couch. We'll start standing in our foundational pose, mountain pose. So feet are hip distance and parallel. There's a soft bend to our knees and our arms turn out. And it's not just our wrists. So let's do this. Let's imagine that we're scooping up something great and then just sending it out into the universe, and let our palms face out. Let that uplift our heart, because that's pretty uplifting. Not uplift our chin, mind you, so chin parallel to the ground. Soften your gaze, which just means this is not a time to dart your gaze around and think about all the housekeeping that you need to do. This is a time for you. So let's turn the arrows of attention inward and give ourselves a chance to stop so that we can start. You could close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. Even divert your gaze a bit. Feel the rise and the fall of your breath as if you've never noticed it before, and maybe it almost feels like that's true. We sort of take it for granted, don't we? Let your inhales fill you with life force, and your exhales calmly connect you to the earth, to this moment. We'll add a little movement to enhance that awareness of breath. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, a V, and then we simply exhale, float our arms along our sides, palms facing out. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, a V. And we'll exhale and float our arms along our sides. Adding on, I'll turn sideways so it's clear. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, a V. Exhale, hinge at your hips. For this one, just take your hands to your thighs. Now, what we're not doing is rounding and crumbling into our fold. So use your hands on your thighs right now and a hinge at your hips to feel that this is just a hip hinge and that the fold actually has length in your spine. We'll inhale, rise, reach thumbs to the sky, and then float our arms along our sides. So that's option 1. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, a V. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to thighs or shins or ankles, but we still have that length to our spine. Slide your hands up, inhale, lift your heart. Slide your hands down, exhale, fold. Then inhale, rise, reach thumbs to the sky, a V. And we'll pause with our arms along our sides. We'll do exactly that one more time. Inhale, V shape, arms to the sky. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to thighs or shins or ankles. Slide your hands up, inhale, even more length to your spine. Exhale, fold it back in. And then rise, reach thumbs to the sky, a V, and we stand in our mountain. Adding on, inhale, V shape. Exhale, hands to thighs or shins or ankles. Inhale, slide your hands up, but this time bend your knees and make sure your palms are flat on your mat with your index fingers facing that short edge of your mat. When we walk back, push the mat away with your arm strength. Step your feet as wide as your mat. Lift your hips to the sky, bend your knees. We're on the balls of our feet and we're pushing the ground away with our arms. It feels like I just grew about 5 inches. You too? We'll remember this recipe as we walk our feet forward to our hands. Feet are hip distance. And then slide your hands up. Inhale, lift your heart. Fold, sliding your hands back down. And then we rise, reach, inhale, arms to the sky, V shape. Pause, palms facing out. Inhale, V shape. Exhale, hinge, hands to thighs, shins, or ankles. Slide your hands up, inhale, bend your knees deeply, palms flat. We push the ground away right away as we walk to our
down dog. Now you might be hip distance. I'm keeping a bend in my knees and I'm staying on the balls of my feet. Maybe eventually your heels start to extend down, but not if that rounds your body. You want the priority to be that you've got all four sides of your torso long. Now take that length with you as we shift forward, shoulders over our wrists in a plank position. Keep pushing the ground away and make your way to down dog. We're going to do that 2 more times. So come to plank, push the ground away, shoulders over wrists, and then keep pushing the ground away, and we come into our down dog. 1 more time, once more with a little feeling, as we like to say. Keep pushing the ground away, bring your knees down. This is as if you've got a kickstand down in your plank. We're not collapsed in our shoulders, so I want you to really feel the integrity of pushing into the ground. Your belly is firm, and we lower with our elbows, brushing our ribs all the way onto our belly. Then uncurl your toes. Bring your forearms onto the ground and parallel to the long edges of your mat. Press into the tops of your feet until your kneecaps lift up off your mat. And then traction your elbows towards you. Don't be fooled by throwing your chin forward. Let this happen as your shoulder blades glide towards one another. And it feels like this is happening primarily in our shoulder blade area of our spine. Remember that feeling, lower down, hands next to your ribs. We'll try for the same Sphinx pose, but with a Cobra pose arm positioning. So hands stay where they are. Our chest goes forward and up, and we press into the tops of our feet here. Then lower down, curl your toes under. We'll need some trunk stability, some core strength to come to all fours. And then lift your sit bones, press the ground away with your hands down dog. You may want more bend to your knees. Walk forward, feet come to our hands, hip distance, parallel. Inhale, lift your heart, slide your hands up. Exhale, fold in. And then inhale, rise, reach thumbs to the sky, a V, and we pause with our palms, turning out. Let's flow that. Inhale, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to thighs or shins or ankles. Glide your hands up your legs. Inhale, lift your heart. Then bend your knees. Palms go flat, and we push the ground away as we come to our downward facing dog. Then shift it, plank position, shoulders over wrists, and put your kickstand down, knees come down. You're strong through your belly as we lower all the way onto our bellies, and you uncurl your toes to come into Cobra pose. Maybe it's Sphinx instead. Lower down, curl your toes under, come through all fours, and then lift your hips up and back, push the ground away as we do. It's downward facing dog. Then we walk our feet to our hands. Our feet are hip distance and parallel. Slide your hands up, lift your heart, inhale, and slide your hands down as we exhale. We rise, reach thumbs to the sky, a V, and then we'll stand into our mountain. That's our basic sun salutation recipe. We'll be adding a few friends to that recipe. One of our friends is chair pose. So chair pose, we sit back and down. That's not a tuck my tailbone. That's not going crazy with my butt out. It's just back and down, as if you're sitting in a chair that doesn't happen to be there. And then we will exhale, fold, hands to thighs, shins, or ankles. Glide your hands up, inhale, and then palms go flat. We bend our knees deeply and step to down dog, actively pushing the ground away the whole while. Lift your right leg back behind you and then step that through. And for most of us, we will probably need to help it along. That's great. That's fine. Grab your 2 tall blocks and bring them to frame that right foot. So we're a little elevated and we can think about a long spine and not a crumbled spine to get to the ground. Walk your right foot over to the right. And then instead of swinging that right hip out to the side, let your right hip swing as if it could to the left. Put a little bend in your back knee and then come upright in crescent pose, and that looks a little bit like our mountain pose from the waist up. Then return your hands to your blocks. Take your 2 blocks off the side of your mat so they're not in the way of your down dog as we put our hands flat, push the ground away, and step back. Either stay here in down dog or join me as we shift it to a plank, shoulders over wrists. Knees down slowly, all the way to the ground. Uncurl your toes, cobra or sphinx pose. Then lower down, curl your toes under. We come through all fours and we lift our hips up and back into down dog. Our left leg lifts up and we'll step that left foot through. Probably we need to help it along too. And then find your 2 blocks or books. Frame your left foot and heel toe that left foot over to the left so we've got a little bit of sideways space. Remember, we're not letting the left hip swing out to the side. We'll hug that left hip underneath us so it feels almost like it's on its way to the right side. Our blocks are helping us find a long spine already. And then bend your right knee, your back knee a bit, and come upright. Bring that long spine with you. V shape, thumbs to the sky. We've got a crescent pose happening here. We'll return our hands to our blocks and then move them off to the side so we have access to a down dog. And from our down dog, walk forward, feet to your hands. Feet are hip distance and parallel. Slide your hands up, inhale. Slide your hands down, exhale. Return to chair pose. Remember, sitting in a chair that isn't there. We V-shape our thumbs to the sky. And then we will stand and float our arms along our sides, palms facing out. Let's dance that. Chair pose, inhale. Exhale, hands to shins, thighs, or ankles. Glide your hands up, inhale. Palms go flat on the ground, step it to down dog, push the ground away actively. Lift your right leg back behind you, step it forward. It might help to move it along. And then bend your back knee, come upright. You can always use your blocks again like we did the first time. Palms go flat, we step it to our down dog. And some of us stay in down dog, others of us will shift to plank. Bring the kickstand of our knees down and lower all the way to our belly. Uncurl your toes. Low cobra pose or sphinx if you like it. Then lower down, curl your toes under. We come through all fours. And then our hips lift up and back into down dog. Once we're there, left leg lifts behind us. We step it through and help it along if that's helpful for us. As we come upright, maybe a bend to our back knee, like we practiced the first go around, V-shaped thumbs to the sky. Then hands to your mat, step it to down dog, and we'll pause in down dog. Walk your feet to your hands. Hip distance and parallel, we inhale, lift our heart. Then we exhale and fold it in. We'll bend our knees for a chair pose, thumbs to the sky. Then we stand it up and float our arms along our sides. So we have done sun salutation A. That was the first one we did. What we just did was sun salutation B. And now we're going to dig into sun salutation C. We'll take our chair pose with us, and then we will exhale, hands to thighs, shins, or ankles. Inhale, lift your heart. This is where it's different. Ready? Take your blocks with you if you'd like to. Step your left foot back, and we come up into our crescent pose from here. So it's like a little bit of a backwards deal. Then move your blocks, step to your down dog. Shift it to plank if you'd like to. Join me with our knees down and then our bellies eventually all the way down. Uncurl your toes into your cobra pose. Lower down, curl your toes under, come through all fours. And then we come into downward facing dog and we will walk our feet forward. Hip distance and parallel, slide your hands up, inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, hinge, we fold it in. We take our chair pose. We're not going to stand up into our mountain pose. We will exhale, hands to thighs, shins, or ankles. Inhale, uplift your heart. Take your blocks if you'd like to. This time your right foot steps back. So it's like our sort of backwards way into our crescent pose. Bend your back knee if that's helpful. Thumbs to the sky, a V as we're here.
And then move your props out of the way. Palms flat, down dog. Feel free to stay in down dog or come to a plank. Bring your kickstand knees to your mat and then your belly to your mat. Slow motion. Uncurl your toes, come into cobra pose. And then we will curl our toes under, come through all fours. Lift our hips up and back in down dog. Walk your feet to your hands, hip distance and parallel. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, hinge and fold. And then inhale into our chair pose. And we stand it up. This time and pause in our mountain. One more little dancing warrior sun salutation to add to our collection. We'll start with our chair pose. So some of these ingredients will look familiar, feel familiar. Hands to your thighs. We'll fold it, shins, ankles if you want to go that low. And then inhale, lift your heart. This time palms flat to down dog. Once we're in down dog, lift your right leg back behind you, step it forward into crescent, help it along if that needs to happen, no worries. And once we get to crescent, turn your back foot, your left foot flat, inch this right foot over to the left a little bit, and open out to warrior two. Arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky for the moment. Then right forearm across your thigh, and left arm up to the sky without a crumble into our right thigh. We come up into warrior two, and we carefully bring our left hand to our left thigh and our right arm up to the sky. We'll go back and forth. This is the dancing warrior part of it. Right forearm across your thigh, left arm up to the sky. And then upright into warrior two, left hand on your left thigh, right arm up to the sky. And last dance, so to speak, right forearm across your thigh, left arm up to the sky, warrior two, and then we dance one more time into reverse warrior, left hand on your left thigh, right thumb up to the sky, and then just cartwheel, spinning onto your back toes, maybe use your hands on your blocks as you go, step it into down dog. Feel free to stay in down dog. I know we've done a ton of sun salutations. We'll come into a plank if you're game. If you're not, you can take a child's pose or a down dog, and then knees to your mat, lower to your belly. Uncurl your toes, bring yourself into cobra pose. Lower down, curl your toes under, come to all fours, and then into down dog. Last of these sun salutation moves, left leg lifts, and then we step it through and help it through if we want to. Up we go into crescent pose. Then drop your right heel, your back heel. Inch this left foot over to the right a little bit. Arms out to the side wide, thumbs to the sky, and we're in our warrior two. A warrior two that is ready to do a dance. Left forearm, karate chops onto our left thigh. Right arm up to the sky, thumb to the sky. We come through warrior two and then carefully right hand on your right thigh, left arm to the sky, thumb to the sky. Back to warrior two and left forearm across your thigh, right arm up to the sky. Back to warrior two, left thumb to the sky, right hand light as a feather down that right leg. Back to warrior two, left forearm across your thigh, right arm up to the sky. Back to warrior two and a little reverse with our right hand on our right thigh. And then we will carefully spin on those back toes, maybe use our blocks on the way, and step to down dog. Once we're in downward facing dog, we'll lift our right leg, step that right foot through and help it along, and this time lower your left knee onto your mat. Both hands inside of your right foot. I like to stack my two blocks and come onto my forearms for what's called humble warrior. And that many sun salutations can be a little bit humbling, right? Fear not, we're now going to be a bit still, a little bit quieter. There's a whole other challenge, a whole other humbling challenge to getting still. If you would like, you can put your blanket underneath your left knee. For some of us, that's going to be a bit more comfortable. We'll take a few moments and I'll be silent, and we'll stay still after so much movement. Now come up onto your hands, take your 2 books or maybe blocks and frame your right leg. Then straighten that right leg and curl your right toes back. We talked a lot during our standing poses about not crumbling. Let's keep that. Hinge at this right hip. I like to keep my blocks tall and walk them out in front of me. The feedback that you get in your right hamstring is what we're after. So there's not a goal to try to round your face to your leg. Sometimes that's what people are under the impression we're trying to do here. No, we want length through our spine. We want the sensations. And we're actually looking for the sensations that we're interested in. So this is a hamstring stretch on our right leg, and we would like to create that. You'll probably feel that more with your long spine than you do when you go into that rounding position. And we want our spine in this long position. Win-win. A few moments here. To switch sides, we're going to skip the down dogs we've been up to and simply swoop our right knee next to our left, and step our left foot forward. Now we're in a low lunge. Walk your left foot over to the left. Perhaps you bring your blocks on top of one another. You can also stay on your hands. Some of you might be able to bring your forearms onto the ground really easily and comfortably. And then we have a nice long soak here in the stillness, which can at times be more challenging than all that sun salutation movement we were up to earlier. Am I right? Let's be silent and as still as we can be for a few moments here. Now we'll come up, frame our left leg with our blocks, straighten our left leg, curl those toes back, and remind ourselves this is not an episode of rounding. This is a hinge, and then the feedback that we get from a stretch in our left hamstring and maybe our calf as well is what we're after. And once you hit that sweet spot, that's good enough. You don't need to go, you don't want to go beyond your edge. Your edge is that place where you're like, whoop, that's kind of interesting. We have a few moments here. We will swoop this left knee next to our right knee. And as we create a single pigeon, I like to sit on my block or my folded blanket. You might feel the same. Take your right foot a little bit towards the left side of your mat, and maybe you start with your setup sitting on this block. We'll extend our left leg behind us and curl those left toes under. So it's as if we're encouraging that left thigh to face the ground. None of this is forced. You can bend this right knee as much as you want or need to. Sometimes your second block tall gives you something to keep that long spine happening. It's a stretch in the front of our left thigh and into our right hip. Now, if none of this is feeling okay for your right knee, you can lean quite a bit over to your right and take that pressure off. And even skip this and sit in a cross-legged position or something else if you need to. But if you lean enough to your right, you'll alleviate a lot of the pressure on this right knee, especially if you're seated on something, a folded blanket or a block. We have 2 moments here. To create our second side, lean to the right so that you alleviate that pressure on your knee, and then carefully help yourself off your block and switch the block to the other side. Maybe some of you don't need the block. I tend to love it and also teach it a lot. Now we'll lean to our left this time. You can keep this left leg as bent or as straight as you'd like, actually mostly bent. And as we extend our right leg behind, you might curl your toes under and just gently convince that right thigh to face the ground. A block is pretty great to get upright a little bit. And remember, the more you lean to your left, the more you will take it off, the pressure off your knee, and also soften the sensations that you're feeling in that left hip a little bit. And then let's just let this work for a couple moments. Same idea for our exit. Lean to your left, so you've got a little space to work with. You can slide that back leg forward a bit. Make your way off your prop. And then we'll carefully lie down on our back. And when we do, place your feet on your mat, hip distance, palms flat, shimmy your shoulder blades underneath you, and we'll lift our hips up into an easy bridge pose. So none of us are trying to make this look like gymnastics, right? It's just great to know that we have extension at our hip, and we'll lower back down again. One more time, just like that. Just an easy breezy, lift your hips. You might interlace your hands and snuggle your shoulder blades a bit closer to one another if that feels okay to you. Now when we lower down, you'll unlace your fingers, turn your palms to the sky, and you could walk your feet wide, drop your knees in on each other and just stay here, or one leg straightens and then the other into our Shavasana final meditation. If you're comfortable, close your eyes. You could even cover your eyes. And then we rest and digest here. Feel free to stay here in your rest and digest as long as you'd like. If you're ready to return, we'll give ourselves a stretch. Arms overhead, legs in the other direction. Bend your knees carefully into your chest and roll to either side. Help yourself up to any comfortable seat. It could be on one of your books or blocks in between your heels. You might enjoy a cross-legged seat. And then place your hands on your heart and let's pause in gratitude. I know that I am very grateful to you for practicing with me. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much. I look forward to us